There's something that happens in your body every single morning, right around the time you wake up, that most people over 70 have never been told about. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't show up on a scale, you won't see it in the mirror. But for a few quiet hours after sunrise, your heart is working under more pressure than at almost any other point in your day. Doctors have a name for it. Researchers have studied it for decades. And yet most people go through their entire morning routine, coffee, getting up, maybe the newspaper, without ever knowing this window exists. Here's why it matters more after 60 or 70 than it did at 40. Your blood vessels lose some of their natural flexibility with age. Your blood pressure doesn't rise and fall as smoothly as it once did. And several ordinary habits, the kind almost everyone does without thinking, can quietly add extra strain during this sensitive window. We're going to walk through 7 of the most common ones. Some will surprise you. A few might be part of your routine right now. Stay with me, because the third one on this list is the one cardiologists say people underestimate the most. Most people never notice anything happening at all. That's actually part of what makes this worth understanding. The body changes quietly. There's no alarm bell. No obvious signal that says, "Be careful right now." What makes this dangerous isn't any single habit on its own. It's the fact that several of them often happen back to back, in the same 30 to 60 minutes, every single day, for years. Left unaddressed, repeated strain during this window may over time contribute to things like elevated blood pressure spikes, added workload on the heart, or a higher chance of dizziness and falls. Some research has even looked at why certain cardiac events seem to cluster in the early morning hours more than any other time of day. None of this means something bad will happen to you. It simply means this is a part of the day worth paying a little more attention to, especially as the body ages. Think about how many mornings you've had in your lifetime, thousands upon thousands of them. Most have passed without any trouble at all, and that will likely continue to be true. But small, repeated stress on the heart, added up over years, is exactly the kind of thing medical research pays close attention to. Not because any single morning is risky, but because patterns matter more than isolated moments. That's really the heart of what we're discussing today. Patterns, not emergencies. Before we go any further, I want to be really clear about something. This video is not here to scare you. It's here to help you understand your own body a little better, so you can make small, informed choices. Nothing you hear today should ever replace a conversation with your doctor. If you're on blood pressure medication, heart medication, or any other prescription, please don't change your dose or your timing based on a video. Always check with your healthcare provider first. Think of this as background knowledge. The kind of thing that helps you ask better questions at your next checkup. Quick introduction. For anyone who hasn't come across this channel before, I'm a medical educator, and for years my focus has been helping people understand what's actually happening inside their bodies as they age, explained in plain, everyday language, without the jargon. I'm not here to alarm you. I'm here to help you understand. If this is the kind of information you find useful, practical, calm, no scare tactics, you might enjoy the rest of this channel too. Feel free to subscribe if that sounds like your kind of thing. Now, let's get into it. To understand why mornings matter so much, it helps to understand a little bit about how the body changes with age. Think of your blood vessels like garden hoses. When you're younger, they're flexible. They expand and contract easily as blood pressure rises and falls throughout the day. Over time, with age, those same vessels can become a bit stiffer, a bit less elastic. That's a completely normal part of aging, but it does change how your body responds to sudden shifts. Your nervous system also plays a role. There's a part of it that automatically adjusts your blood pressure and heart rate every time you change position, get startled, or take in caffeine. In younger adults, this system reacts quickly and smoothly. After 60 or 70, it often reacts a little more slowly. And then there's the heart itself. It's still a strong, capable muscle, but like any muscle that's been working for 7, 8, 9 decades, it may respond to sudden demands a little differently than it used to. None of this is bad news. It's simply the reason why certain ordinary habits deserve a second look as we age. Habits that may have been perfectly harmless at 35, but carry a bit more weight at 70 or 80. There's one more piece worth understanding before we begin. Doctors and researchers have long noticed that the early morning hours, roughly from the time you wake up through the first couple of hours afterward, tend to come with a natural rise in blood pressure, heart rate, and certain stress hormones. This is sometimes referred to as the morning surge, and it happens in almost everyone, at every age, as the body transitions from rest into wakefulness. In a younger body, this surge is usually gentle and well tolerated. In an older body, where blood vessels are a little less flexible and the nervous system responds a little more slowly, that same natural surge can be a bit more pronounced, and it's exactly why anything that adds extra demand during this window deserves a closer look. With that foundation in mind, let's walk through the 7 habits. Habit 1. Jumping out of bed too quickly. Let's start with something almost everyone does without a second thought: getting out of bed. When you're lying down all night, blood tends to settle evenly through your body. The moment you sit up and stand, gravity pulls blood downward toward your legs. Your blood vessels are supposed to tighten quickly to push that blood back up toward your brain and heart. In younger adults, this reflex is fast and often unnoticeable. But as we age, that reflex can slow down. The medical term for the dip in blood pressure that follows is orthostatic hypotension, simply meaning a drop in blood pressure that happens when you change position. This may show up as a brief wave of dizziness, lightheadedness, or even a few seconds of blurred vision right after standing. For some people, it's barely noticeable. For others, it's uncomfortable enough that it increases the risk of a stumble or fall, especially in that groggy, half-awake state right after waking up. A simple, low-effort adjustment many doctors recommend is sitting on the edge of the bed for 30 seconds to a minute before standing, giving your circulation a moment to catch up. This isn't about fear. It's about giving your body a little extra time to adjust, something it may genuinely need more of now than it did years ago. Some doctors also suggest a gentle sequence. Wiggle your feet and hands for a few seconds while still lying down, then move to sitting, then pause again before standing fully upright. It sounds almost too simple to matter, but this kind of gradual transition gives your circulatory system a series of small, manageable steps instead of one abrupt change. If you've ever felt that brief head rush sensation upon standing, this is often exactly what's behind it, and it's worth mentioning to your doctor if it happens often, since there are simple ways to manage it. But that's only part of the story. What you do in the next few minutes after standing matters just as much. Habit 2. Reaching for coffee before water. For a lot of people, the first thing that touches their lips in the morning is coffee. It's a comforting ritual, but it's worth understanding what's happening inside your body during those overnight hours first. While you sleep, you go several hours without drinking anything. Combined with normal fluid loss through breathing and skin, this can leave the body mildly dehydrated by morning, and blood, when it's short on fluid, becomes slightly thicker and harder to circulate efficiently. Caffeine, meanwhile, is a mild stimulant. It can cause a short-term rise in heart rate and blood pressure, particularly in people who aren't used to large amounts or who already have blood pressure that runs on the higher side. Combine mild morning dehydration with caffeine on an empty stomach, and you're asking the cardiovascular system to do two adjustments at once. A scenario your body handled comfortably at 40, but one that may ask a bit more of it now. The good news is, this doesn't mean giving up your coffee. Most cardiologists agree that moderate coffee intake is fine for most people, and some research has even pointed to potential benefits of moderate coffee consumption for certain aspects of health. The simple adjustment is sequencing a glass of water before your first cup, giving your circulation a head start before caffeine enters the picture. It's also worth paying attention to how your body personally responds. Some people feel a noticeable jump in heart rate or a slight jitteriness after their first cup, particularly on an empty stomach. If that sounds familiar, having a small amount of food alongside your coffee or simply drinking it a little slower can make the experience gentler on your system. Here's where things become more important though, because the next habit on this list involves something almost nobody thinks of as cardiac at all. Habit 3. Straining during morning bathroom habits. This is the one many people are genuinely surprised to hear about, and it's one that cardiologists specifically flag as underestimated. Many people have a bowel movement first thing in the morning. It's simply how the digestive system is wired for a lot of us. But if there's any straining involved, something specific happens in the body called the Valsalva maneuver. Here's what that means in plain terms. When you hold your breath and bear down, pressure builds up sharply inside your chest and abdomen. This temporarily reduces the amount of blood flowing back to your heart. The moment you release, blood rushes back all at once, along with a brief spike in blood pressure and heart rate. For most people, most of the time, this passes without incident. But repeated straining, especially in someone with existing blood pressure concerns or heart disease, has been associated in some studies with a modestly higher likelihood of certain cardiac events happening shortly afterward. This is part of why doctors often recommend addressing constipation directly rather than pushing through it. Adequate fiber, hydration, and movement earlier in the day can make a real difference. If straining is a regular occurrence for you, it's absolutely worth mentioning to your doctor. There are simple, effective solutions. A few practical habits can help here. Staying well hydrated throughout the day, not just in the morning. Eating enough fiber-rich foods like fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. And staying physically active, which naturally supports healthy digestion. If constipation is a frequent struggle despite these habits, that's a very reasonable thing to bring up with your doctor, rather than something to simply push through each morning. Again, this isn't about fear. It's about awareness of something almost nobody talks about, and an easy thing to gently adjust. The next point surprises many people too, because it has nothing to do with food, drink, or movement at all. Habit 4. Checking the news or emails for many retirees. The morning phone check or newspaper read is practically sacred. But it's worth understanding what stressful information does to your body first thing in the morning. When you read something upsetting, bad news, a stressful email, a worrying headline, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones are designed to prepare you for action. They raise your heart rate and tighten your blood vessels. This response is completely normal and in short bursts harmless. The concern is really about timing. The hours shortly after waking already come with a naturally occurring rise in blood pressure and stress hormones, something researchers call the morning surge. Adding an emotionally stressful trigger on top of that natural surge means asking your cardiovascular system to handle two rises at once. This doesn't mean you need to give up the news. It simply means considering whether checking distressing headlines is the very first thing you do, versus giving yourself 20 or 30 minutes to ease into the day first. A cup of tea, a short walk, some quiet time before diving into anything stressful. Small sequencing choices like this can make a meaningful difference in how your body experiences the morning. Some people find it helpful to set a personal rule: no phone for the first 30 minutes after waking, and instead ease into the day with something calming, whether that's quiet time with a warm drink, a few minutes of light stretching, or simply looking out the window before engaging with the outside world. This is where everything changes, though, because the next habit is one that directly involves the medications many people over 70 are already taking. Habit 5. Taking heart or blood pressure medication inconsistently. If you're on medication for blood pressure, cholesterol, or heart rhythm, the timing and consistency of when you take it matters more than most people realize. Many of these medications are designed to keep a steady, even level of the medicine in your bloodstream throughout the day. Taking them at wildly different times, sometimes with breakfast, sometimes hours later, sometimes forgetting altogether, can create ups and downs in how well they're working. Since blood pressure already naturally rises in the morning hours, some doctors specifically discuss with patients whether a particular medication is better taken first thing or at a different time of day, depending on the individual and the medication involved. This is one point I want to be especially careful about. Please do not change your medication timing on your own based on this video. Every medication is different, and your doctor or pharmacist knows your specific history. What I'd encourage instead is simply bringing this up at your next appointment, asking whether your current timing is the ideal one for you. A simple pill organizer, a phone reminder, or a habit of taking medication alongside something else you always do, like brushing your teeth, can help keep things consistent. If you take multiple medications throughout the day, it may also be worth asking your pharmacist for what's sometimes called a medication review, a straightforward conversation where they look over everything you're taking together, checking for anything that might interact or any timing that could be improved. Many pharmacies offer this at no cost, and it's a simple, proactive step that many people over 70 find genuinely reassuring. This next point ties closely to this one, and it's about something that happens the moment you step outside. Habit 6. Stepping into cold air or a cold shower right away. Whether it's a brisk walk first thing, letting the dog out, or simply enjoying a cool morning shower, sudden exposure to cold has a specific effect on the cardiovascular system that's worth understanding. Cold temperatures cause blood vessels near the skin's surface to constrict, tighten up, as the body works to preserve core warmth. This is a completely normal survival response. But constricted blood vessels also mean the heart has to work a little harder to push blood through a narrower space, which can raise blood pressure temporarily. For most people, this passes without any issue. But combined with the natural morning blood pressure rise we mentioned earlier, sudden cold exposure adds one more layer of demand during an already sensitive window. This is particularly worth knowing in colder climates or seasons, where stepping outside to grab the paper or shovel a bit of snow means going from a warm home directly into a cold shock. A simple, practical habit many doctors suggest is a gradual transition. A warm robe before stepping outside, a slightly warmer shower temperature, or simply giving the body a few extra minutes indoors before facing the cold. Layering up before opening the front door, or letting a shower ease from warm to cool rather than starting cold, gives your circulation a gentler introduction to the temperature change. This becomes especially relevant during the colder months of the year, when the contrast between a warm bed and the outside air is at its greatest. exactly the kind of season where a few extra minutes of preparation can make a noticeable difference. And that brings us to our seventh and final habit, one that ties every single point on this list together. Habit 7. Diving straight into physical activity without warming up. Whether it's an energetic morning walk, gardening, or even briskly cleaning the house, many active seniors take pride in getting moving early in the day, and that's genuinely a wonderful, healthy habit overall. But there's a difference between staying active and jumping straight from a resting state into vigorous effort with no transition. When you go from sitting or lying down directly into brisk movement, your heart rate and blood pressure need to rise quickly to meet the sudden demand for oxygen in your muscles. In younger bodies, this adjustment happens smoothly and quickly. As we age, that adjustment can take a little longer to catch up. This is exactly why so many cardiac rehabilitation programs and fitness guidelines for older adults emphasize a proper warm-up, a slow build from gentle movement to more vigorous activity, giving the heart time to gradually increase its workload rather than being asked to do it all at once. Combined with everything else we've discussed, natural morning blood pressure surges, possible mild dehydration, caffeine, cold exposure, an unwarmed sudden burst of exertion is really the final piece of the puzzle. The reassuring part is that this is one of the easiest habits to adjust. A 5 to 10 minute gentle warm-up, some light stretching, a slow initial pace can make a meaningful difference in how comfortably your body handles the activity that follows. Staying physically active remains one of the most valuable things you can do for your heart at any age. This isn't a reason to slow down or become less active, quite the opposite. It's simply a reminder that how you begin your activity matters just as much as the activity itself. A short warm-up is a small investment of time that allows you to keep enjoying the movement you love, comfortably and safely, for years to come. So let's bring all 7 of these together. Jumping out of bed too fast. Reaching for coffee before water. Straining during bathroom habits. Starting the day with stressful news. Inconsistent medication timing. Sudden cold exposure. And diving into exercise without warming up. None of these on their own are cause for alarm. What matters is understanding that your body at 70 or 80 responds to these ordinary moments a little differently than it did decades ago, and that a few small, thoughtful adjustments to your morning sequence may genuinely support your heart's comfort through that sensitive window. The most important takeaway isn't to worry. It's to become a little more aware, and to use that awareness at your next doctor's visit. Ask about your blood pressure trends. Ask whether your medication timing makes sense for you. Ask whether a regular heart checkup might be worthwhile if it's been a while. Your body has carried you for 7, 8, 9 decades or more. It's remarkable, and it deserves a little extra thoughtfulness now. Not fear, just attention. Small, informed choices, made consistently, are one of the most powerful tools we have at any age. If you found this helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you hit like and left a comment, even just letting me know which of these 7 surprised you the most. And if you know someone over 60 or 70, a parent, a neighbor, a friend, who might benefit from understanding their own morning routine a little better, consider sharing this video with them. It might be exactly the nudge they need to have a good conversation with their doctor. Subscribe if you'd like more calm, practical health education like this. Thank you for spending this time with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.